Welcome into another episode of the Voodoo podcast. I'm your host, Mike Napolitano. I am joined by two guests, and I'm going to get to them in just a second. But first, I will be joined by another guest. Actually, I think I'm going to be putting his interview second, just because I have you guys here right now. And this event did come first. It was the Friday the 13th slasher night at Basement of the Dead in Aurora. And who joined me but Matt D'Amelio and Emma Parker? You may recognize them, their voices from the second episode of the Voodoo podcast, because they were helpers and members of this year's Voodoo on Vassar staff and previous years, of course, as well. So welcome in, guys. How's it going?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Going well today.
All right, all right. So I had never actually been to a slasher night, so I figured we would go. This was Basement of the Dead in Aurora, as I mentioned. It didn't get to open for Christmas due to the Naperville Chris Kindle Market getting moved to that same location in Aurora. As far as what went on, we got in and out very quickly. We had actually had a reservation for 9 p.m., but we also had a party to go to that same night. So we walked up at 6:45, right before they opened at 7, and they were nice enough to let us go in, wait in line early. And I think we even got in before 7 and got out like not too long after 7. It was cool. I was all over everywhere that day. I was at an outdoor hockey game in Rosemont that morning, that afternoon. Then we went down to Aurora and then back on up to Roselle for that party that I was mentioning. We went through this haunted house backwards compared to how the regular Basement of the Dead, you walk through in October. It's kind of like how they do their Christmas event, where they make you wait in the clown portion. And Matt had thought that that was already part of the haunted house, and he was like, "Where are all the actors? Because we're already walking through." But we were really just walking to get to the end of the clown portion. Well, actually, it was the beginning of the clown portion because it was backwards, just to get to the actual haunted house. But I'm going to throw it over to you guys. What were your thoughts on the experience? What did you like and dislike about it?
You can take it away.
Um, I'll say I was also in the same boat as Matt in thinking that that first part was part of the haunted house. I had never gone to Basement of the Dead. I think when you guys typically gone, I wasn't in town. But overall, like I thought it was pretty cool. Bringing out a lot of characters from a lot of famous horror movies was pretty awesome. Um, there were some parts I didn't love as much just because I felt like I was going to walk into a wall. But, and I did walk into a wall because you guys put me first. But honestly, I thought it was pretty cool. Like, I think with you guys, I've only been to a few haunted houses and then, of course, work in Voodoo. But overall, like, I liked it. And, like, I'm a haunted house person. So it gets a good rating for me.
Matt, how about you?
For me, kind of the same response as Emma. It was an interesting experience. Definitely different for it was Christmas terms, and like we're all going there around like just after that. So it was different. The whole leading up to the whole when we first got there, that really threw me off. Like I actually really thought like I was like, where's all the actors? Like what's going on? When we got inside, obviously, seeing all like the scenery and the rooms and the setup, that's all really nice. But I do feel like the actors slacked a little bit. They weren't on full force, and I understand they were just opening and people were just coming in. And maybe if we did go at our time at 9 o'clock, it would have been better. But yeah, they kind of slacked a little bit with the actors like jump scaring. It was more scarier walking through pitch black than getting scared by an actor.
Yeah, that pitch black area. I can't remember. So I've been to Basement of the Dead a couple of different times. The first time I ever went, I believe, was back in 2016, I want to say, with friends Colby and then Brandon, who was also on the podcast with us that same episode. And we all came out of there thinking, we weren't a really big fan of Basement of the Dead because of the fact that it was so dark. I understand, I've said it before, maybe even on this podcast, I understand that they want to make it super dark so that you feel like you're in the basement, but you do also want to see some scenery and stuff like that. The next time I think I went back to Basement of the Dead was it 2019 or was it 2020? I can't quite remember. It may not have even been until 2021. I do love, I've mentioned it before, that little downtown area of it. We didn't get to really experience it this time, and we really didn't get to experience it the time I went this past year in October. Rob was on the podcast last episode, so he can attest to the fact that we were trying to go to this one little bar restaurant area right above where the haunted house is held. For anybody that's been to Basement of the Dead, it's kind of in a lower patio off the street, so behind the buildings. The front side of the buildings are at street level. You walk into this like bar restaurant, and they have like a deck that overlooks the area. So in an October setting, it's nice. You could probably sit out there, overlook the haunted house, the line, and everything. That bar was too crowded, so we went to a different bar restaurant. Instead, still got to enjoy a little bit of the downtown Aurora scene, but then you're not quite there in that haunted house area. When I went in October, it was good. It was very good. I can't remember the scores. I don't have them in front of me that I gave, but it's always good experience there. Of course, like I said, they couldn't open for Christmas, so that was a bit of a letdown because of the fact that I did enjoy their Christmas one in years past. But this slasher one, it was interesting. In one of the previous years, I can't remember which group it was that I was with, but we went through that pitch black darkness too. And the one area that is still super dark, and I'm pretty sure we got lost in there. That's one of the only times I've ever been lost in a haunted house. Most of the time, like, you could at least feel the walls and realize where you're going. And yeah, that one was tough because I think we just ended up doing the same loop. We may have gone through the wrong door or something like that. That almost happened to us, the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
So that was nuts. And then to speak on your point about the actors, I felt like that too. I felt like they weren't super scary. I thought it was for the slasher night, I felt like it was a little too much Scream and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not enough. And actually, I may be remembering it wrong. I think there was a lot of Jason as well, but I would have liked to see a little bit more Michael Myers. The clown that we took a picture with in the beginning was from Terrifier. I still have yet to see that movie though, so I got to figure out what his actual name is. Somebody has said it before, and I always forget. But yeah, I felt like there needed to be more diversity because you'd walk from one room into another and it'd be the same theme. It's like I already saw Jason in that room. So one of the Jasons though, he was menacing and creepy. I thought he was going to be like a Hellfest scenario where he actually wasn't an actor in the haunted house and he was actually going to just stab me from behind. So I usually don't get like that, but I might have been like a little bit off my game, or just that he was so creepy that I was like, okay, wait, like, is this dude like actually part of the experience, or is he actually gonna like turn around and kill me? Now, I did tell him though I wore the wrong sweatshirt. I know it's an audio podcast, but I'm wearing the right one now. We ought have gotten our Voodoo Ambassador sweatshirts that day, so I wore that one. But this sweatshirt that I have on is my Jason Slashers jersey. So he's got the hockey stick and the machete that he usually goes with, and on the back it says Voorhees 13. So I should have worn that for a Friday the 13th event, but I missed the boat on that one. Missed opportunity. I don't know if you guys have anything to really compare it to. I don't think it's super fair to compare it to obviously the regular October haunted houses, but then I don't know if you would throw it in the Christmas since we were in January. I don't think so. But what are your guys' thoughts on where this ranks? It's hard to give it a number or a score because of the fact that it's so different from everything we've seen.
I just have a biased response because we went so early and the actors weren't really like on full scare mode.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, like, seeing the actors from like the movies, and again, just seeing a haunted house to begin with and how much money and etc. goes into it, that's all cool. But I don't know, it's really hard to like rank it. I mean, it's a good haunted house. We just went early.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe they weren't in full character yet. That's always something I try to take into consideration as well. Plus, it's off season.
But that's also kind of unprofessional at the same time. But again, it's still a really good haunted house. Like not to hate on them completely, but
yeah. No. Any haunted house that we've ever even critiqued in any kind of negative light is still at the lowest a 3.5 or a 3 out of 5, and that's still in my book a really
Yeah,
good score.
I'm still glad I went.
Yeah.
Like if something had gotten like a 2 or a 1, that's something I'm not ever going back to, and it's probably something rinky dink like somebody just set up on a whim. But yeah, no, and then like I said, it's off season too. You're not getting your typical same actors that you get in January. Who knows? But yeah, still, if you're planning on opening, yeah, have those guys, have those gals and ghouls ready to go. Emma, what did you think as far as like ranking?
Um, yeah, I'd give it like a 3 out of 5. I will say, I don't know if it's just because like we've done, like I obviously haven't seen as many haunted houses as you guys have, but like we did like butt up into the group in front of us at one point, and that might have been on me for walking too fast. But I think that's also a scene where, you have those actors jumping out to stop people more often, so you don't bump up into the group in front of you. Um, but
It's usually a little
overall,
back and forth.
yeah, in overall, like I enjoyed it. It was fun to go to. It was a fun night. So yeah, I'd say 3 out of 5 for me.
It is a little tough with spacing at some of the haunted houses, but in a situation like that, I would think, you've got low crowd numbers. Not everybody's going to a haunted house in January like we are. In fact, I don't even really buy into a whole lot of the haunted houses year round. I usually just do the classic Halloween ones and then a couple of the Christmas ones. But
Mhm.
yeah, this one, yeah, definitely spacing needed to be a little bit better. I don't think you were going too quickly. I think they just needed to crowd control a little bit, and that comes into your scenery and your actors. And when I say scenery, I mean a little bit more like the technical side of how things are set up to kind of make people slow down a little bit. There were some things, they had a carousel in there that they usually use for the Halloween version, and when you step on it, they have an actor in there and he presses the button, and then you're walking, and it's like going up an escalator the wrong way because you're walking and the carousel is going the opposite way, so you're not really going anywhere. And they just kind of had it still. Nobody, I don't even think there was an actor in that room. It was just not moving. That was kind of, I thought it was kind of a missed opportunity. If I had one of those
Mhm.
things, I'd be using it in every scenario that I open a haunted house. But overall, though, still, I thought it was okay. I wanted a little bit more from all the other classic horror movies, and I
Mhm.
get, it was mostly just a slasher night, I guess, but I wanted some like Exorcist, and I don't know if you guys saw anything like I didn't really see any Annabelle stuff, or what were some of the movies that you guys were looking for that maybe got missed?
Uh, Not that they missed it, but they did have someone doing Chucky, and I thought that one was
Oh,
really
true.
good.
That was
Um,
really cool.
that one got me because I didn't see him at first. And then all of a sudden he was like running up the ramp at me, and that got me. Um, but yeah, like you were saying, like there wasn't
Yeah,
much
because
Annabelle.
that person was really small too.
So that's kind of like also what got you.
Matt, what about you? What did you think they were missing?
I don't. I haven't really seen like any like major Halloween movies. Like I've seen the basic, like the ones that were there. I've seen all the things that I was looking for was present at the haunted house. But anything else, I don't know.
That's good
I
though.
don't have that much input on Halloween.
No, that's good
I
though.
just like
That
to scare people.
at least they cut, yeah, at least they covered your bases. But yeah, their normal score, Basement of the Dead, we had given them a 4.5 on the regular year. Um, I don't really give them a Christmas score, but I like I said, I did like their Christmas event. I thought it was very well done. So hopefully this year, 2023, they can bring that back to some extent. Of course, their partnered haunted house Disturbia, we did go to that one, and that was a fun Christmas event. But I'd like to be able to go to both. Take my money. But yeah, that is what we've got. The only other thing I will mention is Dungeon of Doom does a slasher night, and we didn't get to go to it. They usually do theirs in October, late October. So I don't know if we're going to be able to make it to theirs ever, but that would be something that could be comparable to this. Obviously, same setup as far as an event. And the next Friday, the 13th on the calendar is in October this year. It's October 13th. It's a Friday. So I imagine a lot of haunted houses will be will want to be doing a special theme night. In the Voodoo Apple calendar, I have scheduled for us to hit Basement of the Dead and Massacre that night, October 13th, as of right now, but that may change due to, what we have and haven't seen. We're in February right now, so we'll have to see, especially for who is doing something special for that holiday as far as the other haunted houses as well. If I had $1 million and a teleporter, I would go to all of the haunted houses in one night on that night then, because, Friday the 13th, you can't pass that up. But unfortunately, no.
Hello, Sydney.
There are some other haunted houses that I do want to get to just real quickly that will be opening up for Valentine's Day. I mentioned this last podcast episode, but 13th floor, they have an event called Love Bites. Of course, they're located in Schiller Park, and their new location, that's Friday, February 17th and Saturday, February 18th, 7 to 9 p.m. on both nights. If anybody's interested, this podcast should be coming out. We're recording today on Monday. It should be coming out tomorrow, Tuesday. So you may not be able to get over to Disturbia. They open Tuesday night, the 14th, on Valentine's Day. Cupid's Curse is their event going on. That's in Downers Grove, basically right next to Lombard. That's Tuesday, February 14th, Friday, February 17th, and Saturday, February 18th. Those are all 7 to 9. And one that this podcast will have missed, Love Sucks, a Valentine's Day haunted house, I imagine has to do with vampires. That was last Saturday, February 11th. So like I said, I usually don't buy into all the ones year round, but Matt, that might be a decent date idea for you and Julia, the mom and dad of the group. If you wanted to,
very much so could be.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're hooked up. But for all the listeners out there, go ahead and check one of those out. I do want to swing this over to the interview that I did with one of the core members and one of the best people. I mean, all the people are great, but one of the best people that I know in the Chicago Haunt Builders. I won't give him too much of an intro here because I did it in the interview, but I will send it over to my interview with the Jim Slanker right now.
Grave robbing in Texas is this hour's top news story. An informant led officers of the Muerto County Sheriff's Department to a cemetery just outside the small rural Texas community of Newt early this morning. Officers there discovered what appeared to be a grisly work of art, the remains of a badly decomposed body wired to a large monument. A second body was found in a ditch near the perimeter of the cemetery. Subsequent investigation has revealed at least a dozen empty crypts, and it's feared more will turn up as the probe continues. Deputies report that in some instances, only parts of a corpse had been removed. The head, or in some cases the extremities removed, the remainder of the corpse left intact. Evidence indicates the robberies have occurred over a period of time. Sheriff Jesus Maldonado refused to give details in the ghoulish case and said only that he did have strong evidence linking the crime to elements outside the state. Area residents have reportedly converged on the cemetery, fearing the remains of relatives have been removed. No suspects are in custody as the investigation at the scene continues.
I have a very special guest with me today. I want to introduce and welcome a very well-known Chicago haunt builder, decorator, and overall generous person. If you live in Chicago, suburbs, namely Carroll Stream, and have never made it out or even heard about Candy Cane Canyon Trail at Christmas time or Canyon Trail Cemetery during Halloween season, you must be living a pretty boring life under that rock of yours, because he's been featured on WGN, Chicago Tribune, Haunted Illinois, and many, many more. He and his wife help host a lot of prop builds throughout the year, and they help organize and run the Chicago Haunt Builders Shindig. And that is just the tip of the obelisk headstone of their contributions to the haunt and holiday industries. So please welcome Jim Slanker. Welcome to the podcast.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. For those that don't know, when did you start decorating and when did you know that you wanted to amass your display to such a scale?
So it's a tough question to answer, but we say 2006 is when we started. I mean, we've always decorated for as long as we've had the house, but it was really 2006. It was we used to do wood cutouts and pumpkin leaf bags and the standard stuff. And it was like August 2006 when I was looking online for wood cutout patterns, and I stumbled across the plans by Imagineering for the Flying Crank Ghost and their mausoleum. And I was like, well, I could do that. And so we threw it together really quickly in a few weeks and set it up. And the rest, as they say, is history. So we've gone from there. So this will be, I think, what our 18th year.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. And when did Christmas start for you guys?
Once again, we've always decorated for Christmas. It was about the same time. We live in a gingerbread house in December. It's a full gingerbread house facade. We actually did the Christmas facade before we did the Halloween one, and it was early, in the Halloween decorating era that we're standing outside at Halloween, looking at the house and going, we could do a gingerbread house. And so in the few weeks between Halloween and Christmas, not only did we tear down Halloween, but we built the facade, got it all painted, and put up the gingerbread facade. So about 18 years for Christmas as well. It's hard to give a definite date.
That's awesome, though. We've always made it a point to stop by you. You're obviously so close in Carroll Stream. We're in Schaumburg for Halloween, but then it came to Christmas, and I think this was the first year we made it over, and I was like, "This is awesome," but where's the gravestones, right? Yeah, no, it's quite the spectacle both holidays, and you have one of the best displays in the Chicagoland area. I'm going to be the annoying fan or home haunt viewer, but I have to ask the classic questions. How long does it take for you to set up, and where do you store everything?
All righty. Well, we actually have a set of FAQs that we print out and make available for folks, at least for Halloween. And where do we store stuff is absolutely the top question.
Yeah.
The answer is, are you offering us space? Is that why you're asking? No. So years ago, we had to go to offsite storage. We have a storage unit for Halloween that is packed to the ceiling, as well as the crawl space and the garage and every nook and cranny we can find. Christmas is the same thing, offsite storage. In fact, I took the last 20-foot truckload of Christmas to storage yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, I don't know if we can make any more Christmas just because it was trouble getting the door closed on the storage unit. So,
oh my gosh.
And once again, the attic and crawl space and every nook and cranny. So,
holy cow! Well, I mean, that's a fun Super Bowl Sunday for you then, just moving the moving Christmas out, and it's February. And from what I gather, you're saying there's a separate storage space for each.
Yes, we have a 10 by 30 for Halloween and a 10 by 20 for Christmas. And then, like I say, the attic is filled, the crawl space is filled. If you've seen my garage, it's filled, and it's everywhere. And then for how long? So Halloween is, by Halloween night, my wife and I have about 200 hours in setup and maintenance on it. For setup, it's the last week of September that bridges over into October. I take that week off. It's 9 12-hour days for me, just getting the core set up and get most of it up and running. And then it's nights and weekends finishing it up and maintaining it for me. And then my wife is weekends and evenings as well. So it's about 200 hours just for setup and maintenance on Halloween. Christmas, it's not quite as much, although it's grown to be considerable as well. The days are shorter, and I've given up working at night. So once it gets dark, especially when for Christmas, I'm in. I'm like, it's too cold. I'm going in. So, but we like it. It's our insanity.
That's awesome. Yeah, Christmas definitely a little bit colder out there. Although this year a little bit more mild of a winter. However, it did get to those temperatures, fairly middle of December, and then on Christmas it was pretty cold. So yeah, you're working those long hours. That's awesome. But you do so much for everybody in order to get to that point of having so many props and decorations. You have to build a lot of them, as you already mentioned. You've hosted a bunch of builds for the Chicago Haunt Builders group in the past. So how did you come up with some of the prop ideas, and then also the idea to bring everyone together to have some of these builds?
Well, the ideas are all thefts from other people. So, there are very few original ideas left in Halloween, right? It's modifications. So we'll see something and go, no, that's cool. And we'll try to put our own spin onto it, make it our own. And certainly as over the years, as we've gained experience, and skills, we've done a lot more, but it's inspiration from wherever, right? It's looking at other folks displays. It's seeing stuff online. It's going to Transworld or Midwest Haunters or any of the other conventions or trade shows out there and seeing stuff. Or it's just, starting with one concept and manifesting onto another, right? It's just, you build on it and twist it. The group, how we started doing it, the group, we joined. So Chicago, what is called Chicago Haunt Builders, has been around in one form or another since mid 2000, early 2000, 2005-ish. We weren't there when it began. It was started by a group of people who belonged to the Halloween L mail list. And so that's pre-Facebook, pre-MySpace, pre-forums. It was just emails. It was just email lists. So you'd get at Halloween time 400 emails, and someone would say, "Hey, I got this idea," and then it'd be a reply to all to the list, and everyone would get the reply and everything. So there was a group of folks in the Chicago area who got to know each other on the Halloween L and some of the other mail lists, and they wanted to get together socially and to build stuff. So they started the original Chicago Home Haunter group. Over the years, it's changed. It moved to a new group, what's called Chicago Haunt Builders, I think in 2011 on Yahoo Groups. And, once again, it was just emails back and forth, right? Someone would say, "Hey, you want to do this?" And then the email would go back and forth and everything. And, Yahoo Groups wasn't the most robust technology. And for a few different reasons, the group started drying up, and we weren't getting new members, and there was technical issues with the group. So there had been a Facebook started for Chicago Haunt Builders, so it was moved over to the Facebook group. And the original Chicago Haunt Builders Yahoo group is now no longer, but it's on the Facebook. And it's a lot of people think it's another Facebook group, right? And it's really not. We're a group of people who just communicate through Facebook. But way off topic now. But
No, yeah, no, you're I love it. This is pre my knowledge of, obviously pre us joining the Chicago Haunt Builders, but even my knowledge of going around and seeing a bunch of the haunt builder houses with my dad or other family members, and seeing the displays as a fan. I didn't even know how that all really began, and how you guys kind of paved the way. And the people, of course, that you mentioned that started it on the emails kind of paved the way for what it has become today. That's kind of crazy that it survived like that.
Yeah, it really has, and it's thrived. I mean, the group used to be basically a couple dozen people, right? And for the longest time, it was a couple dozen people, maybe 50, 60, and then it started really drying up as people, many haunters only last 4 to 5 years before it just becomes too much and other life interests come up, um, and they move on. And we weren't getting new members, so it was really drying up. But it's gone from you know a few handfuls of people to now there's over 2,200 members. Pretty robust. I think we're probably the most active um, local haunt group in the country, at least of which I'm aware of.
I would say so. I mean, I've looked at maps and charts of how Halloween is celebrated in other states, and it seems to me like there may be other states that celebrate the holiday more, but I don't know of any other groups that do what we do. And you mentioned it's more of just a group of people who communicate on Facebook, but you know it is more so like not just a Facebook group, it's like a family. Everybody's
It
pitching
is.
in ideas, and I mean everybody just comes together, and you see it when we get to the shindigs as well. But before I dive into the shindigs, you do so much for the community already with the displays and, like I mentioned, the builds and whatnot. But you go above and beyond with buying like boatloads of king size candy bars for trick-or-treaters. But you also accept cash or canned food donations. So let the listeners know what to bring when they come to see you in October and in December as well, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. So my wife and I are very fortunate in that we're able to do what we do. We enjoy what we do. We do it for many different reasons. And many years ago, people started offering us or wanting to offer us donations. And once again, we're blessed. We're able to do it. Quite honestly, anything we got would never come close to covering the cost of it. So we said, look, if you come and enjoy the display, right? If you want to do something, you can leave a monetary donation for the Just Giants dog rescue. So we're passionate animal lovers. We always get used animals, and we have a particular fondness for Great Danes. So they're just amazing creatures. We love them. We've had dogs all our lives, and I don't think we'll ever have anything but a Great Dane again. So they're just amazing, and we're able to help out the rescue on there. And then we also said, look, there's a lot of people who don't have the means and struggle. So we said, if you'd like to leave a non-perishable food donation for the local food pantry, that's wonderful as well. So every year we collect several $1,000s for the Great Dane rescue. We're able to have them featured on a news segment with WGN a couple of years ago, where they focused on the rescue and the display, and help them give them some publicity as well. So that was awesome. And then we every year receive a couple truckloads of non-perishable food for the local food pantry. So that's awesome as well. And this particular pantry is they do pretty amazing things. So happy to be able to support them.
That's phenomenal. You must be reading off my notes though, because my next question was all the creepy yet amazing decorations you have, and yet I think your dogs are what people come to see most now. For those that don't know, like you mentioned, you're always sitting out on the driveway with these massive Great Dane sidekicks. Are they pretty aware of what's going on? Do they enjoy all the commotion?
Yeah. So we've had a couple sets of them. We had two that we lost, both of them in 2021, which was tough. But they lived long, full lives. One was 11 and a half, and one was just shy of 13.
Wow.
It doesn't make it any easier, but you can't really ask for more for a large sized dog. They love being outside. They love meeting the people. They're just true gentle giants. They just absolutely, love being out there, and people could come up and pet them. We had people who would bring them treats all the time. They really did well. We lost those. We actually have two new ones, a mom and a son. The mom wasn't socialized as much, so she's not as comfortable outside with people. So it makes her uncomfortable. So we don't want to do anything to get her upset. So she pretty much hangs inside this last October, but she had puppies as we were fostering her this last summer. 13 Great Dane puppies.
Oh my goodness.
One of which we kept. The rescue found homes for all of them. A couple of them to members in the Chicago Hunt Builders. So we have a 8-month-old, 125-pound Great Dane puppy who,
Holy
you know,
cow.
we had him in training, and the trainer's like, well, you want to make sure they're socialized with people, and I'm like, I got it covered. He's met 20,000 people already, so he loves being outside, and he loves people, and it's Great Danes. People know Great Danes, but many people haven't had the opportunity to interact with them. So it's great that they have the chance to get to know Great Danes. And actually, a number of people have adopted Great Danes that we know just because they became aware of it through our display. So that's
awesome.
rewarding.
That's pretty cool. I'm starting to see the pattern here with the Halloween and then Great Danes. You didn't name any of them Scooby, did you?
No, we did not. But my daughter does have a dog named Boo. So
okay, there you go.
So.
We had a beagle for the longest time, and one of the first things they told us when we were getting him was, whatever you do, don't name him Snoopy. And I was like, okay, all right, that's fine. But yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I've been by a couple of times where people have asked you, like, do you guys get to go out, and you're just content sitting there with the big fluffy giants next to you, and of course you can't go anywhere. You gotta stay and man the display, and I get it, but
yeah, that really is the unfortunate side, and that's one of the reasons why we like conventions and trade shows and many of the activities throughout the year is as great it is as it is, we really are housebound in October. And we unfortunately just don't get out to see some of the amazing displays that the group does, just because we do have to stay home, right? We have a lot of pneumatic props. There's over 30 pneumatic props, 30 to 36, depending on the year, pneumatic props. There's 2 compressors running, an 80-gallon compressor and a 60-gallon compressor. And there's nights that there's thousands of people. So it's just a situation where we need to stay home. And I'm just not comfortable leaving 2 compressors and everything running and going out. So unfortunately, we don't get out to see. We would love to. I get to see at least what's in town here, because I am a judge every year for the city Halloween decorating contest. We don't enter it, but I'm a judge for it, and so I get to see at least the stuff in town for both Halloween and Christmas. But that's one of the drawbacks.
True, yeah. And then I imagine, going back to talking about all the props, and you talk about the compressors, weather is we had mentioned weather kind of more so for Christmas, but weather even in October, we kind of lucked out this year, but there were, still a couple of days with, rain, and winds are the biggest thing, I think, for us, right? That we always harp about is, we hate high winds because then our props are up the block or broken or knocked down. So that's always tough.
Yeah, that's just something you learn to deal with, right? So this was an amazing weather year in 2022. It was warm, very little rain, but October, it starts with, it could be 90 degrees, and then 2019 we had a couple inches of snow. So it can be anywhere between it. Experience, you just learn to deal with it. You learn you have to build with the expectation that there's going to be multiple windstorms throughout the month. You're going to be dealing with at least 24 hours of sustained 50-mile-an-hour winds. And you just learn to build everything so they'll last it. And we're fortunate. It's been years since we've had any damage. But that's only because we learned the hard way. So now it's miles of rebar and hundreds of U-channel fence posts. But
I can definitely see that.
it's
Yeah.
just learning to stake everything down.
Yeah, you do learn a lot of tricks of the trade, like you mentioned, the hard way at first, and
Right.
then
Oh, absolutely.
you move along and get better as time goes, and to get to the level that you guys are at. Yeah, I could definitely see that's impressive though, that you guys have not had any real damage in the last couple of years. So that's
Yeah,
very
it's
cool.
been years since we've had any. I think a snake blew off the witch's hut because I had just thrown it on top, and that was the extent of damage this year, because I had to pick it up and put it back on. But you learn to build for that, right? You over engineer.
Right.
It's going to be out in the rain. Um, we run regardless of the weather. It's odd. I can't tell you how many times it's been pouring, and we have people all over with umbrellas and everything. And I'm like, they must love their kids, because I wouldn't do it for my. But yeah, it's just we're not smarter than anyone else. We just learned the hard way.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. And I know from my standpoint, from even still being somebody that goes out and sees all the houses in our free time, October is just so short. So you want to take those rainy days and get something out of it, because
Oh,
once that clock strikes midnight on the 31st, and November hits, everybody's just already thinking about Christmas.
right. No, absolutely.
Please, God.
This is God.
What we're mostly thinking about, though, after Halloween is over, is the Shindigs. I've been to the last two Chicago Haunt Builders Shindigs. Super awesome events. I finally got my group on board for coming with me next year. They finally, it took them 2 tries, and they finally said, "Hey, what he's going to is actually looks pretty cool." And now third time will hopefully be the charm. But both years, the Chicago Haunt Builder group packed the house to the gills, and that's not no knock on the venue. That's just more a testament to how great and massive this group has become, and how much fun you guys make the event itself. So how long have you been organizing it, and talk a little bit about the festivities for those who haven't been out to one?
Yeah. So I just want to touch on Chicago Haunt Builders. It's an amazing group of people. It really is. We have learned so much over the years from so many people. A lot of what we do is we're able to do only because of what we've learned from the other members. Um, it's just an amazing community. Um, it's incredibly diverse socioeconomically. You have the whole spectrum represented, and regardless, it just everyone just helps each other. And you ask a question, hey, how do you do this? And you'll have 73 people, responding, telling you how, and 14 of them coming and say, well, I'll be over on the weekend to help you out. So it's just an amazing. Sorry, you can hear the two Great
That's
Danes.
fine. No,
And
not
one's
too bad.
coming in to tell me that, yes, there's someone trying to break in and kill me, apparently. So apologize.
No,
So
no
it really
problem.
is an amazing group of people. And we're honored to be associated with so many people. But this year was, I believe, our 8th annual Shindig party. It was just a chance to get together. Once again, it started, I think there was 20 of us. We just got together for a very small meal, and it was just a chance. You get into that doldrums, past Christmas, and you're in the darkness and cold, and you can't work on anything. So it was just a chance to get together and see each other, spend some time, and hang out with some really cool people. And it's obviously because of COVID, one year we didn't have it. 2021 we did not have it because it was held right before everything shut down in 2020. So it was over 9 years, but this was the 8th Shindig. It's grown. Like you said, it's now growing exponentially. we packed the house last year. So, I got a venue that could handle twice the size. And I went, oh, we'll be fine. Right. Yeah, not so much. That venue was maxed out. We couldn't have fit another person in there. So we had a couple hundred people. Never dreamed it would double in size and then some, right? We had a huge waiting list of people who wanted to come, and unfortunately we had to say no. But once again, it's just some time. Everyone's so busy in Halloween, and you're trying to talk to people outside, and the weather might be chilly, it might be wet, or at the make and takes, a lot of stuff is going on. You're focusing on doing the make and take project, so you don't always get to socialize. So this is just the time, to hang with like-minded folks, get a little shot of Halloween in typically January or early February, and so yeah, it was a great time. At least I think it was a great time, and amazing support by vendors and the group with door prizes. A few years ago we said, hey, let's see if we can get couple door prizes, right? And it was absolutely amazing. There was more and more door prizes, donations, both from vendors, and we're talking upwards of hundreds of dollars for an individual door prize, as well as group members donating stuff. So that I'm not really looking for group members to donate. It's not an expectation, but it does make me feel good. And I think people feel they're getting enough from the group that they want to give something back. So I think that's amazing. And then, of course, Midwest Haunters / Transworld started sponsoring us a couple years ago, and just Jen and her team donated some amazing door prizes to for her vendors and everything. So I think it's a great time. The challenge is going to be finding a venue large enough for next year. So we'll see what we can do on that.
I know some people were joking that, we can be the Midwest Haunt Convention at this point because we're so big. And like you said, yeah, it was packed in there. You must be psychic, because my next question to you was going to be about pulling so many vendors and helping out with, the door prizes and stuff like that. It's just incredible how much it's grown. And yeah, it's crazy.
It's amazing. So everyone who came walked out with something.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing. And like I say, vendors, and we've been involved with volunteer activities, our whole adult lives, and we've been involved with scouts and school stuff and other groups and organizations. And you go up to businesses and they just get hit up all the time. Normally it's like no, or it's something very minimal. Yeah, we get vendors hearing about the group and contacting us and saying they want to do something, or they see pictures or of the Shindig online, and they're like, hey, drop us a line next year. We want to do something. So that's just amazing support. And it goes back to the Halloween community, right?
Yeah.
It really, we're involved, as you said, in both Christmas and Halloween, and the difference between the two communities couldn't be more stark, right?
Yeah.
You would think Christmas would be this open, loving community, right? Yeah, no. Very cutthroat, very competitive. It's all about having one more light in your display than the next person. It's all about the competition. People who do Halloween do it because they love the holiday. And that's why they're doing it. There's not that competitive factor. And that's why, the help people give in Halloween is just amazing.
Yeah, that's true. That's what I've experienced. We don't do Christmas, but when it comes to, obviously Halloween's over and then you get to Christmas, I've always figured that Christmas community, so to speak, is kind of not like that. Not necessarily to the extent that you mentioned, but like there's no list like there is for Chicago haunt builders, or even just, haunted Illinois and home haunts and all that kind of stuff. And so when you're trying to go out and plan similar routes to go see this kind of stuff with Christmas houses, it's a little bit tougher, because unless you're watching like the Great Light Fight, you don't know necessarily, or you're a part of the Chicago haunt builders and people are posting that, hey, I also do Christmas like you guys do. You don't really know what's out there, and you might be just driving around in the dark looking for some Christmas lights. And we saw a couple of houses this year, and I could definitely see what you're saying about, the everybody's just kind of in competition with the Halloween world. And going back to the vendors, it's more so everybody, and like you said about how everything is like a stolen idea. I think, copying and imitation is the highest form of flattery, and I think that the Halloween community shares that idea, is that we all want to just pass around and get our props, especially with the vendors, get our props out to these people so that our stuff's being displayed, or they can use it in new creative ways. And that's another thing too that we talked about, is everybody kind of takes their own spin on stuff. So even though it's the same prop, everybody has their own creativity with it, and they either dress it up a different way or use it in a different scene. And then it comes to Christmas. And I think too, some of it can be the weather, that, not everybody can come around and walk and get outside of their car to see the displays at Christmas time, because it's so cold, like you can for Halloween. Nothing's really going to jump out at you and give you that extra feeling of, your heart racing or being scared or being surprised. But yeah, I don't know. Christmas to me, I have one friend that has been on the podcast before that loves Christmas so much more. And we have this little battle, and I'm just like, Halloween, the community, the events, and everything that has to do with Chicago haunt builders, is just so much better. I just love it.
Yeah, the two communities are dramatically different. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I can't say anything other than just different.
Yeah.
And Halloween's all about helping, and to putting your own spin on it. We talk about the make and takes, right? If people aren't familiar with it, you touched on it. So a member of the group will prototype a prop, and put it together, and cost it out, and buy all the components, and then everyone shows up at the person's house, and there's a mad fury of everyone putting together the prop and building it. And it's really an opportunity for people to learn, right? And that's, not to be undersold, is that there's people building props who might be using a motor for the first time, or getting involved with pneumatics, or maybe, making tombstones for the first time, and they're learning because someone's guiding them and helping them. And it's not just the person hosting it. Once again, it's that community where, you're all spread across, and you're at a table with someone you never met before, but, maybe they've done it once before, or, they have already passed that step. So they're helping the other person out. And, oh, this is how you do it, or this is what I had trouble with. Watch out. So it's really about, the make and takes aren't as much about leaving with something as it is learning about something, and learning how to work with pneumatics or motors, or how to do tombstones, or how to distress clothing, or anything like that. But going back to my original point, it's the same mechanism that maybe 50 people are building, and at the end there might be the same movement, but there's 50 different props, right? And they're all finishing them off in their own way. And we don't get to go out and see them, but it's interesting as people post pictures. You see the prop in a bunch of different yards, and they're all the same, but they're all different.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of cool.
I think one of the biggest surprises, even before I joined the Haunt Builders group, was when we just got to go to different houses and talk to the people who ran their displays. The biggest surprise I got was that a lot of people do this more as a hobby, and they're, like you mentioned, this is their first time touching a motor. They don't work in that industry that would normally use those type of parts and stuff like that. So everybody just learns as they go, and they're diving into this on their own rather than, oh, I work at so and so, so I just get the parts and I know how to use them already. It was just such a, and originally I had gone to school for engineering. So for me, it was like, wow, like you don't even have to be in some kind of a work environment to also be in this industry and do this just as a hobby and have so much time to create such amazing props too.
Yeah. So people assume when they see our yard, um, that we're in the industry. We do this for work. And, they always, oh, you do this for work. And my standard response is, it would be so much easier if I knew what I was doing. Because we're not. Neither one of us has any background in what we do. Everything we've learned to do is just by doing it over the years. And a lot of that, going back to the group, a lot of that came from other members in the group who taught us or showed us how to do things. And that's why we're so passionate about returning that knowledge. Just because, we've gained it. We came in not knowing anything. And we've learned so much that, we want to share that knowledge or facilitate other people sharing it. So, that's one of the reasons why we do so much is in the group is that's what, besides it just being a great group of people,
Yeah.
We've gotten so much from it. We want to make sure that we're doing what we can to give back.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you learn a lot more too when you go to things like Transworld. No, listeners, it's not that. Transworld is the largest Halloween and Christmas convention in the world. It's held in St. Louis every year. I almost had the opportunity to go this year, but it kind of slipped away. But what was this year's experience like for you compared to previous ones, especially with it being earlier in the calendar this time around?
Yeah, so that's the earlier wasn't a big deal. You're farther south. It's held in St. Louis. There's a couple days it was cold, but then by the weekend it was in the 50s, and I was walking around. I'm from Chicago. I'm fat, so I don't need a jacket. So I was walking around outside without it. So the weather wasn't bad. People were freaking out. It's going to be a few weeks earlier. You're probably staying at the hotel across the street. And
Yeah.
St. Louis does have snow plows, and they know how to manage it. Right, it's not like snowing in Memphis or Atlanta, right?
Right.
Where they're not equipped for it. So,
Yeah.
but the weather was all fine. Couple cold days, I guess. Load-in day for one of the dealers was particularly cold, but it is what it is. But the show was awesome. It was the largest show. We've been going to Transworld for years. I actually attended a number of times when it was here in Chicago before I was into Halloween, because my family had retail stores, and so we went there as a retail buyer. But then for many years we didn't, and then we started going back. I don't know, 15 years ago, and have attended. So the show is amazing. It's grown. It cannot be described, right? There's just an incredible awe factor as you walk in. You can watch every video you want. You can, try to get a sense of it. But until you walk in and you just, as far as the eye can see, just amazing Halloween props that are towering 50 feet in the air, and just the vibe of the show. It was amazing. Tons of cool stuff. Tons of cool people. We typically don't buy a lot at Transworld. We make most of what we do, so we don't buy a lot. My wife even does the mask sculpting and molding for many of the different props. But it's a great time to hang with people, to once again meet up with them. And the atmosphere is just amazing. You just can't describe it if you're into Halloween at all. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have yet to make it down there, and I like you said, I've seen videos, and I've gotten to see what it's like from an outside perspective, but I can imagine just being there. And my goal is similar, is not to go necessarily to buy a bunch of stuff, because I know that's a show that's mostly catered in some ways towards some of the bigger haunted houses and more at least with the big props and displays catered towards the expensive buyers, right? But I just want to pick the brain of like some of these top end haunted house owners and all these creators, and just everybody there has got a different personality and brings something different to the table, like you said. So I'm itching to go. Definitely, I'm
Right.
getting down there next year for sure. It's marked off in the calendar.
And there's certainly $50,000 props out there, right? That are just amazing, that you and I just aren't going to be setting up in our yard and everything. But there's tons of stuff in our price range.
Oh yeah.
There's not a lot of cash and carry, but there is some cash and carry. Certainly, most of what the vendors bring to display, they will sell off. They don't want to carry it back. So Thursday's all about getting in there and buying the stuff that's set up and everything. And then there's some dealers who do some cash and carry in there, but there's stuff in everyone's price range. And it's really cool to see the $50,000 stuff. How can I make that for $53, right?
Yeah. How do I do the Walmart version of it, right?
Right. The wish.com version.
The Home Depot, Menards. Yeah.
Right.
Wish.com. Yeah. But so next up, though, is the Midwest Haunters Convention in July. I know that you had asked me to host a seminar last time. You've already been posting about it in the group about the CHB presence there. This year, I'll definitely be in attendance at the very least. But what can Haunt Builder members and also fans expect from you and our group at this year's event?
So Midwest Haunters Convention, we've been going to once again for years. It was originally hosted in Ohio. And then a few years ago moved to Chicago. It is currently owned by the same folks who own Transworld, but it is not the same type of show. So Transworld is a trade show. It's all about ordering and sales and everything. You're seeing $50,000 props, and it's although home haunters can go to Transworld and everything, that's not the core market for Transworld. Core market for Transworld is professional haunted houses, amusement parks, and different entertainment venues out there. Midwest Haunters is all about the party, right? It's just that they have a trade show floor. It is a fraction of the size of Transworld, and you're just not going to see the $50,000 props. It's a convention, and it's all about social activities. It's geared towards the home haunters like us, the enthusiasts, haunt actors. It is just one big party, and it's just an amazing fun time. Jen at Transworld has done an amazing job bringing it to Chicago, and once again stumbled a bit with COVID, had to deal with that, but last year it was just amazing. She did reach out to Chicago Haunt Builders and said, hey, I want to include you. I want you to be part of this. So last year we built a haunted house on the show floor that Chicago Haunt Builders organized. Everyone contributed different props and put together. So there was a walkthrough haunted house by a bunch of home haunters on the show floor. Number of the seminar. So what they've also done is, we've gone to different trade shows and different conventions for years all across the country. We've been to almost all of them. And there's always education seminars. A lot of those education seminars are geared towards the professional haunted house, which is great for home haunters, right? We can go to them and, you take that information and you go, oh, well, I see how I can do this at a much lower scale. But what Jen and Chicago Haunt Builders talked about last year was putting on a track of education geared strictly to the home haunter, home enthusiast. So you don't have to go and go, well, how can I make this information relevant to what I do? It is relevant to what we do. So it worked out pretty well last year. It's introduction to, like I did introduction to pneumatics, just the very basics. We didn't build a pneumatic prop, but you learn the basics of pneumatics. When back when the how to dummies books were available, I would, when I was learning a new technology, I'd buy the dummies book, read that, and that gave me enough knowledge to then go and read other books and understand them, or watch other videos. So that's what really the seminar, my pneumatic seminar, was. Give you an introduction so that gives you the foundation to go learn from there. We're doing that again in 2023. There's going to be a track of education just for Halloween or home haunters. We're going to do the haunt walkthrough on the show floor again. Michael Peters and his team from the Nightmare Haunted House and Glenn are going to put together that. You can see from the post, everyone's wanting to participate, either assist with building, bring props, haunt act. So it's a great opportunity to do some haunt acting in June. And then there's some other stuff Jenin is talking about and working on to recognize the home haunters and Chicago haunt builders. So I can't announce it yet. It's not finalized, but it should be a great time. But there's a zombie march. Kevin Bixacki from Chicago Haunt Builders last year organized a zombie march that's going to be going on again. The haunted house tour is just amazing. They're going to a bunch of haunted houses in Michigan. Just top-notch, awesome haunted houses in Michigan. So the tour should be amazing. There's a Friday night haunt tour. There's the costume party. And Midwest Haunters is known for, because you've got so many haunt actors out there attending, the costume party is just amazing, right? You just have you can't describe it, right? It's just the amazing costumes that people show up with, and it's this stuff going on nonstop, and it's just this huge party the entire weekend where you're hanging out with people, you're learning some stuff, you get to see the trade show, and it's a whirlwind tour that is a blast. So
that's awesome. That there's so much more there than I even knew was going on. So I'm gonna have to do my homework for sure and get on the ball with this stuff. Last episode we had on an actor from Midnight Terror, and he actually knows Japes Palace.
Yep.
And he was recommending one of the haunted houses. I have it in my notes, but I don't have it in front of me. One of the haunted houses in Michigan as well. So I'm interested to see if that's one of them on the list, and then I'll definitely have to clear my calendar for that as well. This sounds awesome. And for my group that I know is listening, for a Voodoo group and everybody, that sounds like the Midwest Haunters Convention sounds like the perfect opportunity for us to get back into character. So block off your calendars. Let's get over there. Let's represent ourselves and Chicago Haunt Builders, because that's what we love to do. That one episode we did with our whole group, everybody was just begging me. They're like, let's do it again next year. And we might. I'm still working out what's going to happen with 2023 October, but definitely get a chance to be in masks again, dress up, help out, and just see the whole venue in the show. That sounds so awesome. I'll definitely be there.
One of the differences between Transworld and Midwest Haunters is because Transworld's a professional trade show, costumes aren't allowed on the show floor, right? Unless you're in a booth, working a booth.
But in the haunted house that you guys are building, are you guys
yeah, well, that's Transworld that they're not allowed. They're not. Midwest Haunters. Sure. Midwest Haunters costumes are encouraged. So you can walk the show floor in your costume, in character. Certainly if you're participating in the walkthrough haunt, you're more than welcome to. But you can just hang out and walk the lobby in your costume or your character. You can walk the show floor in your character. Uh, it's just a nonstop party.
That's
On it.
amazing.
So it's like I say, it's just a great vibe.
That's awesome. Well, I am definitely now even looking forward to it 10 times more. And that is coming up on the horizon this June, I believe, right?
June.
June 9th.
Yeah. Yeah, like the 8th, 9th, 10th. So
Yeah.
it's like 4 days event. There's 2 days for the haunt tour. And then the trade show is and the seminars are Saturday and Sunday. I think the costume party is Saturday night. I think there's a local haunted house tour Friday night. Like I say, there's a ton of stuff. I think the zombie march will be probably Saturday as well. Um, yeah, it's just it is. There's you can't do everything. There's just and all the
I'm gonna
haunted
try.
houses, all the local Chicago haunted houses are represented there. Um, so it's just it's a great event, right?
That's awesome. Yeah, I have it in my calendar here. The weekend is the 8th, 9th. Oh, I'm sorry, 9th, 10th, and 11th as the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it starts on
Okay.
the Thursday though for this one as well.
Yeah, I think the hunt tours start on Thursday, I believe.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Well, that's definitely earmarked in the calendar, and I'm definitely going to be there in some fashion this year, even if it's just me. But my group better come with me, and if not, I'm with the Chicago Haunt Builders too. So that's always great, always a fun time. Is there anything else that is on the horizon for you? I know you're probably not even thinking Shindig next year, but there's Shindig, Transworld, anything I
Yeah,
missed?
yeah. So absolutely, we're 260 days from Halloween, which sounds like a lot, but you back out 30 for the month, so it's 230. Um, so it's going to come quickly. So we're looking at some make and takes. Hopefully, I'll be putting some information out in the next week or so on a make and take that Dawn and I will be facilitating probably at James Schiffer's location in Lombard, western suburbs. It's
Yeah,
works out well because the group is spread across the far southern suburbs to the far northern suburbs, so the western suburbs are inconvenient for everyone. So it's pretty equal. Um, and there's other make and takes, and we're trying to put together some social activities as well, um, and get the group, post COVID jiving again, right?
yeah,
So there should be a ton of stuff, and Midwest Haunters will be in there as well. So we're talking about a halfway to Halloween potentially party, the end of April. Costume party. Talking about that. We'll see if that comes about. But yeah, should be pretty. And the group is just so dynamic now, so it's awesome.
Oh yeah. I was talking to James and Steve, who's right around the
Mhm.
field from me in Schaumburg, and we were talking about going in on possibly eventually getting our own haunted house. Of course, somebody posted in the group recently about a warehouse that is somewhere over in Oak Lawn that they need the sprinkler system checked, and that's expensive, and to put it in and stuff like that. So reality kind of hits you, and you realize how much more has to go into it. But definitely this whole group, and you're definitely somebody on the list that we would definitely talk to if we were going to go that route. That's crazy. I know most people are satisfied with doing their own, like you guys are with your own home haunt, but me, I'm kind of running out of space with climbing on the roof and in the garage and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I was thinking if we combined our sources, especially because James has that location over there in Lombard, and he's helped run a JC's haunted house in the
Yep,
past. So
he's got a ton of experience.
yeah, he took me in that facility, and there's just so many other props that he doesn't use, and he's like, there's not enough lawn space or electricity at my place either to help run all these things. So I'm like, let's put them to use, right?
So that's the difference, right? You mentioned it. We have no interest in going pro, right?
Yeah,
we do it for the fun of it, the enjoyment. I have a pretty stressful job. So to me, this is relaxing. I pretty much am past the point in the hobby that I get all bunched up and everything. I get tired, but I don't get stressed out and everything because it's for enjoyment. And,
Yeah.
man, I've gotten so many business offers, and I'm like, no, 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 man. I do this for fun. When you bring money into it, it's now work, and
Right.
now there's stress and there's obligations and no, 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 no. I'm just keeping it. If it's if a prop doesn't work, that's a shame, right? Or
Right.
or if it pours rain, every weekend in the month, well, that sucks. I'm not, you know, or what was it, 2016 when the Cubs won the World Series and all the haunted houses were battling
Oh yeah, the
the
fans were
series
over
and
there.
they're broadcasting the games on the side of their buildings so people could watch them while in the queue lines and everything. And they had, what haunt owner growing up in Chicago would ever think they'd have to compete
Right.
against the Cubs in the World Series, right? And
Right.
they're like,
Especially the
really?
Cubs, yeah.
What's the chances of that? It hasn't happened in 100 years, right?
Right.
But yeah,
As a
so
Sox fan, I don't really have that problem too much, except for in 2021. That was we came close in some aspects, and I was planning out what I was going to do if they made there, but yeah, I was
right.
counting chickens. But yeah, no, that's crazy. I did one other thing I wanted to mention. I noticed just going on your Facebook that you were originally from Westchester.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I heard that you were from Westchester as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
where yeah I
yeah,
did
Windsor
grade school.
Drive. My wife and I
Okay.
both were born in Westchester. She's almost the girl next door. So she was born on Martindale. I was born on Windsor.
Okay.
My mom actually, her folks moved to Westchester with her two brothers. They bought three houses in Westchester, and I think 46 or 48. So my mom was there forever.
Gotcha.
And we used to own the newspaper in town and everything. But so we're on the south side. I don't know where you grew up, but
I was Norfolk, so I was right up the block from the middle school, or Westchester Middle School. And then my dad's actually still there. He's on Stratford, and my
okay,
grandmother lived right down the block from him, also on Stratford. So
yeah,
we were kind of on both sides of Manheim.
yeah, yeah. So that's my mom grew up with her parents and her two brothers bought houses on Portsmouth, and
Okay.
then
Yeah.
when my folks married, they moved to Windsor on
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So I went when there were four separate. I'm old. So when I was in Westchester, there were four schools, elementary schools,
Okay.
and then every year, as I would finish a grade, they would collapse the grades behind me.
Oh
So
man.
because I'm the last year of a boomer, so I'm officially a
Okay.
boomer. And after population went down, uh, and so they closed it. And then a few years after I graduated from Kennedy at the time, they closed Kennedy for many years, and then they opened it up again as a school.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because when I was there, I had done primary school, which was Downing and Fleet, and then you after that's K through second grade, and then you get to the intermediate school, which was third through fifth grade. But I moved to Schaumburg with my mom fourth grade, so that was when I transitioned over. But I still have a bunch of friends in Westchester. They made it all the way up through what would have been convenient was the middle school right on the corner by me was six through eight. And then, of course, you have your high schools. Friends that went to St. Joe's, but now St. Joe's is closed as well.
gone,
So
right?
yeah, so it's that's such a small world, though. When I noticed that, I'm like Westchester. I'm like that's such the smallest blip ever. But the minute you find someone from Westchester, you're like, hey, like that's cool. So
Yeah, Sally Ringo in the group is from Westchester as well.
oh, okay. I don't know
He's
if
he's
we've
way
met.
up by Rockford now. He
Oh,
doesn't show up isn't able to come to activities as much now, but he's a really cool guy. But he's from Westchester too. So yeah, anytime you find someone from Westchester, you're like, what?
You're like, are you sure you don't mean Westchester, New York? Like,
Right? Yeah. Or
yeah,
Pennsylvania.
or Pennsylvania. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's crazy. Well, thank you so much for this. This has been awesome. Other than canyontrailcemetery.com and also the Chicago Haunt Builders list every year, I think you're also on Haunted Illinois. Where else can people find you as far as fans and keep up to date on all your spooky
Mostly
craziness?
Facebook. That's our primary web presence. We have canyontrail.com, but quite honestly, I don't keep it up. If I update it once a year, it's a banner year. But mostly it's facebook.com, Canyon Trail Cemetery. Our Christmas display is Candy Cane Canyon Trail, just because we live on Canyon Trail, so it works out well for both holidays. But yeah, so Facebook is the prevalent one. Occasionally, I'll dip my toes into other social media, but not standard
Gotcha.
or consistent.
And even though it's an audio podcast, the listeners will have to know I love the background you got going with the little haunted house in the back and the trees and I always wear my sweatshirts and whatnot on these, but nobody can see it. It's an audio podcast. So yeah. I'll just shoot it out.
So actually my office and I work from home is Halloween themed. So I always have to make sure I have Halloween / Universal Monster theme.
Gotcha.
So what you can't see right now is I have the Creature of the Black Lagoon coming out from the wall right above me. My curtains are actually bats. And I'm on work conference calls all day, so all day, so I have to use a background. But yeah, it's all Halloween. There's gargoyles and everything in the.
So even without the generated background, you're still living in Halloween. I love it.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on. It's been awesome, and we will definitely be seeing each other soon at all these events and stuff like that. And keep up all the great work that you guys do, your whole family, with Halloween and the community and Christmas even. And we're so grateful as members of just the Halloween community, and then of course also CHB to be a part of all this with you.
Yeah, it's an amazing group of people. We're honored to be associated, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks for coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My friends call me Chucky.
Hi, I'm Chucky. I'm Chucky. Hey, wanna play? Wanna play?
Playtime's over. You just can't keep a good guy down.
Thanks again for that interview, Jim, and it was great getting a chance to catch up with you, and he has so much knowledge. One of the things that I wanted to mention to you guys, because you will not have heard, although the listeners will, is the Midwest Haunters Convention is going to host the Chicago Haunt Builders. Of course, they always roll out the red carpet for their groups, and it is less like Transworld. We said it in the interview, so the listeners, like I said, will have already heard, but less like Transworld, where you are not encouraged to dress up because you're there. It's a trade show. This is more of a convention, so you can dress up. We can go in our costumes, Matt the Plague Doctor, and then also we can actually participate in a haunted house that the Haunt Builders are setting up in the Rosemont Convention Center where this event is taking place. So that is in June 9th, 10th, and 11th is that weekend. There are some things going on, I believe, that night before, the 8th and the Thursday. So hopefully we can all make it out to that one. I know I'm going. I got asked to do by Jim. I got asked to help out with things that they were doing last year. And hopefully that'll be the case again this year, because that sounds like a fun party. But other than that, I've got nothing coming up. Are you guys excited for Midwest Haunters Convention now that you know a little bit about it?
Of course, I might go.
Sounds
As
good.
the Plague Doctor.
As the
I'll
Plague
pull out
Doctor.
my
Plague
screams
Doctor.
again. I'll pull out my screams again.
There may be a noise limit in the auditorium.
Hey,
whatever
bro.
we got. Yeah, but
I'll just
the
pull
rest
out
of
the
the
scars.
Oh God, yeah. The rest of the Voodoo crew will have to get to know about this, so I'll be posting about that. And then, of course, any fans that are listening, get your tickets now. Midwest Haunters Convention, and we'll see you there in June. That's going to be an awesome event. I've never been. I've never been to any of the Transworld or Midwest Haunters, but it sounds like Midwest Haunters is the one that will fit our MO basically, and it'll cater towards us, and it'll be a fun time. Jim called it a party, so I'm there. I'm there. The last thing I do want to mention is that there are some scary movies coming out. I will probably dive into those more in the March episode. There's a couple that have already come out. A Knock at the Cabin is one of them. That one's an M. Night Shyamalan film. I'm not usually a huge fan of his work, I have to admit. It's a little weird, and there's always a twist, but it looks interesting. Dave Bautista's in it, so I might check that one out. The Last of Us, not a movie, but a series on HBO. Getting great reviews, especially now that The Walking Dead is over. It fills the zombie void, and it's based off of the video game. I have played the video game. I've only really seen an episode of the first Last of Us, but I'm going to be jumping on that in a little bit. Fear the Walking Dead should be coming back soon. I actually have to check when exactly that returns to TV, because that one's still running. And then they have, of course, their spin-off shows, which I don't know if they'll make it to 2023. They may come out later on 2024. Megan, I don't know if you guys saw that one. That one was like some creepy doll. I don't really know the premise of it, but I think the doll goes like rogue and like starts killing people. So that's messed up. And then the big ones coming out, they're not out yet. Scream 6, that comes out March 10th. Jenna Ortega is playing basically the lead role in that one. You may recognize the name. She was Wednesday, but she was also in the series You. The new season of that came out. It's not exactly horror, but it's like serial killer. That one was good. I do have to catch up on the new season, but she killed it in Wednesday. She played Wednesday Addams. She was amazing in that. Evil Dead Rise comes out April 21st. I will actually be having a fellow haunt builder on the podcast sometime in April to talk about the new movie release. His whole display is catered around the Evil Dead, which is awesome. And then, of course, he's getting a chance to meet Bruce Campbell. I think it's Bruceathon or something that I've been getting ads to buy tickets for, and I'm tempted, but I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll probably get to hear how it went from fellow CHB member. I believe his name is Ryan. And then Renfield comes out April 14th, so just a little before Evil Dead. Insidious 5 on July 7th. I didn't even know they were on number 5. That's crazy. Saw 10. That's even crazier. That's the Saw franchise made it to 10 movies. That's on October 27th. The one I think I'm looking forward to most, The Exorcist, and that's coming out on Friday, October 13th. So we're going to have a busy Friday, October 13th. I'm definitely hitting haunted houses first. Maybe we'll do the Thursday night, like midnight release of The Exorcist, because that's crazy. But huge year for scary movies. What stands out to you guys on that list? What are you scared of most or looking forward to most?
Saw 10 was obviously that sounds like obviously like a stupid movie, but at the same time, like
Yeah.
it got to 10, so you gotta see what they could do after a decade.
What else they can do?
It's going to be like the Fast and Furious franchise where they go to 10 movies, and
Never
next thing you know, they're going to be flying cars in space and doing all this crazy stuff.
For
But
me, yeah, Matt, keep going.
I was gonna say every single movie sounds like interesting. Also, too, you always say it's a good date idea for me and the mom of the group. So every single one sounds like a date idea.
I set up this whole episode for you, Matt. I just want you to know that.
You're filling up his date book right there.
Yeah, I got
Yes,
you
you
guys.
are. You just set me up for the next couple months. One movie date a month.
There you go. For me, I've been watching The Last of Us, and I also played the video game. Definitely, it's so good. It is seriously so good. I will say, like, the jumps they have in it don't necessarily get me, but I think it's, I've played the game. I know kind of what's coming. But I think their rendition of it is really good. Pedro Pascal aces the game every time. So, but I would also be really
Every
interested in Saw time. Saw 10.
every single TV show and movie is going to be with him in it
Pedro Pascal.
and saving a little kid. That is what
Yep.
every single movie for the next decade is going to be. He's going to be in
Oh,
every
yeah.
one, saving a little kid from a pandemic, apocalyptic something.
I saw Julia post that on that was so funny. I was like, yes, we'll get our Mandalorian back with
It's about
Baby Yoda.
perfect.
With
Exactly.
Grogu.
Like that's ending, Mando's starting. It's going to be a perfect transition
Yeah,
for him.
I mean, Mandalorian obviously is not Halloween. That's not what this podcast is about, but that's coming back. That's exciting.
Start
I
a new
will throw-
podcast.
That's fine. We can talk about that because you know what else I thought of when we were talking about movies and just what I'm looking
Marvel?
forward to. Of course, I'm looking forward to. Well, yes, Marvel too. There was a bunch of Marvel commercials during the Super Bowl. Even you've got Ant-Man Quantumania coming up, and then
On
you've
Friday.
oh yeah, that's already on Friday.
It's
Damn,
on
okay.
Friday.
I gotta hurry up. And then also I'm actually looking forward to the Guardians Volume 3 more, although that movie, I think we're gonna lose a lot of core characters and I'm gonna be upset. But no, I wanted to talk about the Flash movie, actually, DC. And if anybody knows me, I love Marvel way more than DC, but I respect DC stuff too. And it is Halloween because I do use the score when we do Voodoo. Michael Keaton's Batman is returning, which is gonna be
Coming
sick.
back.
That score from that they did for that movie from oh God, why am I blanking? He did the score for Nightmare Before Christmas. Danny Elfman. He that score is coming back for that movie, which is I just love that. They had it in all the Lego Batman video games too, which is kind of cool when I was a kid. Kind of dip your toes in the Michael Keaton verse that came well before my time, but I'll throw that in there. I'm looking forward to that one too. But yeah, my top two horror ones that are coming out: Evil Dead and Exorcist. And honestly, as much as I think the Scream movies have been done to death, I'll see it just because Jenna Ortega's in it. I think she's great. So, but we'll see. But any last notes that you guys have? I know this was a little bit of a shorter one for you. Matt, if you do end up doing the Valentine's Day haunted houses, we'll have to get you back on. You and Julia will have to tell us how it goes.
I'm gonna have to run it by her and see what she says, but
yeah.
Put it in the Voodoo chat.
As the Voodoo podcast host, I'll third wheel with you guys just for research purposes. I have to actually see how these haunted houses do so I can rank them.
Send them in through. Go by yourself. Just send yourself in by yourself.
Yeah.
Don't third wheel with Julia and Matt.
I'm not gonna do either. I'm not gonna be third wheeling with you guys and cramping the style, and I'm also not gonna be going alone because that would look so that's like the dude that goes solo to the movies. Like it's a tough
You've
look.
never gone solo to a movie?
Well, on that note, yeah, I have not gone solo to a movie. I think for guys it's different because like you think it's like the creepy dude in the back that's just like I don't know looking at women funny. Yeah, I would never do that. That's where my mind goes, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to even be considered anywhere near that that category.
So, definitely seen some Marvel movies by myself.
Creepy old man. Well, you're a creepy old man.
Let's go.
Oh God. All right. Well, this has been the 4th edition of the Voodoo podcast. We're a monthly podcast. Subscribe. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And just keep your eyes and ears open for all the great Halloween content that we have coming. You would think it'd only be in October, but it's year round. And we'll be pumping out monthly episodes still here as well. So for Jim Slanker, thanks again, Mike Napolitano, and I'll let you guys say goodbye as well.
Bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Till next time, guys.